Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Lake Country Unitarian Universalist Church. I just have to start by saying what a wonderful feeling it is to stand up here and look out at all of you. It's just such a joy to see from faces I've known for a really long time, faces I've known for a while, and then new faces. It just brings me so much joy. And if you're thinking about being a worship associate, it's one of the perks of the job, so you can do it too. I'm Carrie Duma. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm your worship leader this week. We welcome you. We know you come here for different reasons, to find community, to seek your spiritual truth and your personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find some answers to some of your bigger questions. We welcome you. We know you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and different backgrounds. We hope you will find comfort, connection, challenge, and love here. We hope you will find ways to provide outreach to others in our congregation, in our local community, and in our world community.
Our light is the light of the earth, provider of sustenance. Our light is the light of all living things, life precious like our own. Our light is the light of each of us, bound together in need and hope. Our light is the light of the cosmos, keeper of all that we know. This month's Soul Matter theme is choosing hope. And this morning, we lit the second candle of Advent, which in the Christian tradition compels us to focus specifically on a hope for peace in the world. Today's reading reminded us that although lasting and encompassing peace may never actually be possible, we must continue working to create as much peace as we possibly can, despite the realities of our human nature that will continually drive us away from peace. Power differentials in society create winners and losers. Those that have some sense of comfort and peace, even if it's temporary, and those whose toils are needed to create that peace. It also creates some who recognize that the peace those in power enjoy is being created by the toils of others, leaving little space for them to enjoy the full fruits of their labors. Given this reality, the children's story reminds us that it is still on us to carry the light of hope forward in the world. And the Advent season is designed to remind us of the light that guides our way towards a hoped-for everlasting peace for all. One question I get a lot is, if so many of you, the folks in your church, don't believe you go to heaven or hell after you die, and many are conflicted even about the idea that a God exists at all, well, why on earth do you go to church every week? I would say that it's because we know that even after all these thousands of years of trying, we still have not collectively achieved overall peace on earth and goodwill to all. And since our society is in the middle of celebrating a season based on Christian stories, I suppose this would be a good time to examine the historical roots of this faith that has created all of the holiday traditions that we currently follow. I have to say, the more that I've learned about the historical figure of Jesus, the more I'm convinced that this prophet lived in a time that was in many ways very similar to the times that we find ourselves in now. I believe that historical Jesus, the prophet, was simply trying to teach his followers how to get along better with others so that they could provide a stronger, more unified resistance against a dark system that was not creating the possibility for his peoples to actually flourish and thrive in the world. Jesus was alive in a very tumultuous time, in a very tumultuous place, and many of the issues that he and his followers faced will sound very familiar. At the time Jesus was born, the area he lived in was under Roman control. The Romans demanded high taxes from all the people that they oversaw, but installed rather inept local governments the further out they came from the center of Rome. And there was a semi-tolerance for different religious beliefs, but there was a tremendous amount of conflict as these disparate belief systems and religious traditions clashed with each other and struggled to coexist. At the time right around Jesus' birth, Judea had just become a Roman province. One of the benefits of Roman rule was a significant improvement in the roads and infrastructure, which actually created an easier way for ideas to be disseminated throughout tribes and throughout the different peoples of that area. During Jesus' time, there were two major Jewish sects, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Jesus wasn't strictly a Pharisee or a Sadducee, but he shared significant beliefs with the Pharisees. The Pharisees emphasized oral traditions and commands of the Old Testament, supported the idea of resurrection and popular support, and represented the common people. While the Sadducees were the priestly elite focused on temple ritual. They actually rejected the ideas of resurrection and angels and collaborated with the Romans. The Jewish teacher Jesus was more closely aligned with those Pharisees, but many of his teachings were actually rejected by both sects. He was a radical, living in a time of great upheaval, when many were waiting for a Messiah to be sent from God to deliver them back to the Promised Land. And whether divinely sent or just a truly inspired teacher, Jesus gained prominence at a time the people were looking for a Savior. Those followers of Christ, who became the early Christians, created a brand new religion based on this belief that Jesus was actually sent by God to show them a new way. And now, whether this is true or not, or if Jesus was just a really wise teacher, in any event, his teachings to me ultimately seem to be simply about what it takes for folks to get along with each other. The decades after Jesus' death was a time of especially great unrest, with the first Jewish-Roman war happening from AD 66 to 73. And several decades later, the Bar Kokhba revolt between 132 and 135 was the last and most devastating of the three major Jewish rebellions against the Roman Empire, which resulted, and this will sound familiar, in the mass killings and almost total displacement of much of the Jewish population. Sounds very similar to some of the news we see flash by on our little screens, sometimes about the Jewish population, sometimes about other folks. Now, because I'm not a literal believer of many of the teachings of the Bible, I'm able to assign metaphors to many of the lessons that are shared. When I think of God, I don't think of an old man in the sky. I think of that which is beyond human perception and understanding. When the Bible says that the first rule is to love God above all else, to me that is simply guidance to never forget our place in the universe. History shows us repeatedly that we humans get ourselves in all kinds of trouble when we mistakenly think that we know all of the answers. To me, this commandment is about remembering our place in the world and not letting our egos think that we can actually have dominion over all. Failure to remember this can cause even the most righteous among us to attempt to bend the world to our way of seeing things. Unitarian Universalists, at our best, remember this truth and seek not to convert the whole world to our way of thinking, but rather to simply live lives that positively influence the world around us by the examples of the values-based ways we attempt to live. That second lesson, love your neighbor as yourself, seems to me as much an instruction designed to strengthen the communal bonds that are needed for peoples to have any chance of joining together in ways that strengthen us enough to be able to resist the inevitable tyrannies that emerge as humans continue to compete for control and power over each other. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those that hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the peacemakers. Jesus instructed his followers, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds. If someone slaps your cheek, offer them the other. Love your enemy, and pray for those that persecute you. Beware of false prophets. Jesus was unique in his day that he did not teach the laws. He stood out because he spoke as his own authority. He engaged in his own search for what was true and meaningful, and preached not what had been handed down, but what he determined was a better path towards the promised land. And I really think our Unitarian Universalist faith is very similar to this. We don't simply recycle the old laws. We are trying to hone our message and our ways of being to create new ways in the world. Same issues, different times, same struggles, new approaches. Some lessons that were passed down have been cast off. Some get abandoned at one time or another, but have been found to have value, so continue to reemerge across the ages. Some lessons get updated, some are brand new. Jesus was a prophet to the masses. Did you know that only about 5% of the population was literate back in those days? All of Jesus' teachings that have survived to this day, no matter how good or prescient they may have been, were eventually adjusted by the literate elite to control the very people the peace directive Jesus was attempting to empower. In Matthew 5:14, Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds." That's all he said. When Jesus said this, he meant strive to simply become good people, and that the light of that goodness permeate the darker parts of the world. But when passed through the perspective of those in power, this message shifts a very subtle way, but profound way. It becomes, ours is the way and the truth and the light, and it is our duty to make the rest of the world in our image, which leads naturally to conflict with others, conquest of the powerful over the powerless, and empire building. Jesus spoke almost entirely in parables. Parables are simple stories designed to help folks easily understand a message. When I read the Bible, I don't look at the stories literally. I try to get the heart of the lesson that they are trying to convey, with the assumption that many, if not all of the lessons, are about human fallibility and how our better angels can actually win the day. The best practices that lead to peace between different peoples at the very least exist because they point to some fundamental challenge in human existence. Whether I agree with the prescription or not, they provide a checklist of the types of problems humans have always struggled with. And in some cases, the suggested remedies still have validity, and in other cases, perhaps today we might have expanded our perspective just a bit, and perhaps our current remedies are a little bit better suited to the challenges we still face. Yet still, the challenges remain. Times of great change, incredible power imbalances, competing theologies, expanded communication channels allowing information to rapidly spread, just like those roads that were built by the Romans, but also exposing vast differences between what people believe. Those in power still trying to control the message to ensure that they stay there. Here today, at this time, 2,000 years after his death, our society still practices a version of the rituals that have been passed down from these ancestors. In most cases, the original source of their power is actually gone. I know that many in this room no longer look at this season as a countdown to the birth of a Savior, with the requisite hope of his triumphant return. But even if that is not your truth, even if we cast aside any and all beliefs grounded in this part of the story, we do ourselves a disservice if we just throw the entire thing away. Life continues to be hard. Inequalities between peoples still exist. The fruits of our labor are not always our own. The structures that support our peaceful existence are still built on the backs and the labors of others. The pettiness continues, and the killing continues. Those of us who journey up the mountain have given us some clear perspective on these realities and are still trying to climb the mountain towards a greater, more expansive view of peace in the world. But climbing a mountain is hard work. And trying to climb that mountain while pushing up a rock that will, by the very nature of our world, continue to roll back to the bottom and need to be pushed up again and again and again. Anyone that has ever climbed a mountain knows that there are typically spots along the way where the slope eases, and we are sometimes offered glimpses of the views that might be possible if we just keep moving forward. I believe these little breaks, these small moments of ease and joy are not just nice to haves. They are the breaks our weary souls need to continue along our challenging journeys. I remember early in my training being in a class about liberation theology, the Christian movement that has emerged in South America that interprets the gospel through the experience of the poor and oppressed. The professor was trying to help us understand a theology grounded in the idea that success is never ultimately possible. We're going to do these things and our life is never going to get any easier. And saying that the work towards bringing this success to life must be undertaken anyway. I just couldn't wrap my head around that. I'm just a dude, and I'm like, I got to fix it. I can fix it. You have a problem, I can fix it. It's got to be fixable. There's got to be a solution. I thought, how can a person ever work towards something when they know there is no chance for ultimate success? It was a colleague in a breakout session that helped me to finally understand this lesson. She had a severely health-challenged child, confined to a wheelchair, nonverbal, dependent on his caregivers for every aspect of his care. This mother said, I get up every morning knowing that all I can do is care for my child. It will take everything I have just to keep them alive and cared for, and they will never get better. I give them everything I have, but when I wake up the next day, I know that we will be right back where we started, and I'll have to begin pushing that rock back up the hill that I know will just roll back down to the bottom of the hill next day when I'll need to start all over again. I don't have a choice. This is my child, and it is my responsibility to love and care for him. You know what keeps me going, she said? Every once in a while, my child will look at me and smile. And I know that I am making their life as good as it can be. I remember back to when they were born and the intentions and hopes that I had about the type of mother I wanted to be, and the healthy, successful son I hoped to raise. The universe didn't give me exactly what I dreamed of, but it gave me my son. And loving my son and pushing that rock uphill each day has given me blessings that I could not have possibly imagined. And so it is with those of us who still desire peace in this weary world. No matter how hard we try today, it is likely the world will not be completely at peace tomorrow. And even if we devote our entire lives to the work of trying to bend the arc of justice to serve the needs of all peoples, it is unlikely that arc will bend far enough down to change all of the ills of the world that we see. Yet continue this work we must. Because just as human-created systems will always result in haves and have-nots, there will always be work needed by people who can see these issues and who care. This work needs to be done no matter how dark and hopeless the days may become. This season of Advent, if we strip away all that has been put upon it by the Christian traditions, is at its root a season of rituals designed to help us survive through the darkest hours by intentionally focusing on the light of hope that is always available to help light our way. And this is why I think most UUs come to church. The journey towards a brighter tomorrow is hard work, And we can become exhausted if we don't create intentional moments of rest and rejuvenation along the way. This season, in these dark times, we come together to rekindle our light. We gather together with others committed to the same struggles to join our lights together. The change we seek in the world can only begin here, within each of our hearts. The world will continue to be as it is. But if we can simply commit each day to living our lives aligned with the values that we believe will help to bring just a little bit more light into a darkened world, then maybe, just maybe, that light will spread to another, and then to another. I can't stand up here and honestly tell you that our collective efforts will save the whole world. But our efforts may make life just a bit better for ourselves and those around us. And if enough of us keep trying, keep moving forward with the light of love guiding our way, then perhaps the world will just be a little bit better tomorrow than it was today. And that, to me, is the hope of this season. Take time. Reflect upon and express gratitude for your blessings. And attempt to be the light in this darkened world that it so desperately needs. And keep coming back here week after week, year after year, to replenish that oil in your lamps. May our collective light move us ever closer to our idealistic vision of peace on earth and goodwill for all. Blessed be, and may we help to make it so. Chalice, alight with hope and joy, illume the further reaches of our sometimes winding paths. Be a beacon to bring us home again, like a chorus of like minds and voices. Abide in us as we go forward from this place to share our songs with unsung others. Work in us to bring to light the special gifts within each one. Chalice is alight with hope and joy. Beloveds, I am going to echo what Carrie said this morning. You want to talk about being lit up. Seeing your faces here every Sunday is what is the light of my life. Seriously. You keep showing up, you keep working, you keep trying, you keep giving, you keep making beauty. How could my lamp not be filled? We have a lot of things going on today. We've got the stewardship, we've got computer classes, we've got, I think, a book sale. And I don't know if they're going to have any extras, but I think the kids are making like Hanukkah cookies today. So definitely go into the social hall, spread your light around, and continue enjoying this holiday season. Be well.